to the weekly. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the weekly TNT Tuesday Notary Titans call. You might recall that Jen is still vacationing. Have you seen some of those great pictures on social media? Woo! She's having a great time, and I'm so glad she is. In the meantime, I'm holding down the fort on my own, although I do have some assistance today from Jennifer Cooper, who's going to be monitoring the chat, doing a little mute patrol, and I may ask for her perspective on some of your questions as well. Okay, now we will start with all the events that are happening because, of course, if you haven't been on for a while, then you might not remember them or need the link, and we're going to do that for you. And while we're doing that for you, here's what you can do for me. Start formulating your questions. If you write it down, if you have something you came here with, an agenda, put up that virtual hand so that you get in line and you're at the beginning of the line. If I don't have questions, then it kind of makes it difficult to handle a Q&A format. So start thinking about something that you have a question about or an assignment you want to share and ask about. Any of that is all good. In the meantime, let's start talking about what's coming. There are so many notary events on our calendars today. You know, a few years back, like 5 years ago or more, 7, 8, 9 years ago, when I started Symposium, there were no notary events except for the NNA conference and the Maryland Notary Public Day by Elaine Wright Harris. Those were like the two big events. And then I started in 2015. And now in these last 2 to 3 years, a lot of people have decided, hey, I want something in my area, which is great. So that we don't have to travel across the country for every single event. We can find something that suits either what I'm looking for topic-wise or meeting speaker-wise, or it's just easy to get to. So we're going to start with the NNA conference. If you are in Florida or around there, that's the easy to get to. Lots of speakers, over 20 different workshops happening. And it is just after Mother's Day weekend, the Monday after that. Bill, Jen, and I are all either speaking together or separately in different workshops. And if you want to know what they are, you can always go to the nationalnotary.com/conference link, and you can look at the agenda. You can look at the speakers, and you can get some deep dive into that. Next on our list is Michigan. It's right after. So the NNA conference ends Wednesday night after the gala. Thursday, then Friday, I believe, starts the Michigan Consortium with Dashika. She's the one running that. And then Bill and Jen Neitzel are the speakers, amongst many other speakers who are going to be there. In August, I don't have the link yet. I promise it's coming. It's being built. But if you're interested in an intensive, and this intensive focus is on how to be a part of and participate in an HOA, Homeowners Association's election, I'm putting on a workshop that starts with people getting ballots and having to follow the instructions, which are kind of crazy, and some people can't figure it out, getting those mailed off in time to the Inspector of Elections, attending the workshop, and then participating and either checking ballots in or tabulating ballots, giving the report. There's lots of different roles that'll be available for people to deep dive in and participate in, not just sit and listen to somebody talk about it. And that's why I'm excited about it. That's going to be in Modesto on July 20th. So it's about 12 weeks off from now. The building is the Hospice Corporate Center right in the center of Modesto. And it's a nice big room. So I'm really excited about doing that. And soon as I have that link, I will get it out to you. Then in Arizona, there's the Arizona Retreat by Notary Academy, and they are putting on a fabulous event in Scottsdale. I am only one of the speakers, and I'll be focusing on different aspects of deliberate practice, how to be a go-to notary because of your skill sets. After that, we have got Montana, or actually maybe it was just before that. We have Montana, and the Montana conference is put on by Secretary of State's office. So we do have some public officials who will be there. Lori Ham, if you're not familiar with her, is an incredible program director for the Notary division. And there's expected to be around 350 notaries. So it is closing in on the size of the NNA conference. You don't have to be a Montana notary. She has an entire track of speakers that are on entrepreneurship itself. And then we have the Philly Social. And the Philly Social is put on by Judy Lawrence. And Judy has put this on for a couple of years. Bill is speaking there. I will also be speaking there. And she has quite a list of other speakers who will be there, as well as quite a few public officials related to apostille work. So that's a real focus for this particular conference. And then Jen Neitzel is going to be one of the speakers on the Mexico cruise coming up in November. So that's what's on the calendar. And you can see how many different notary events there are to choose from. And I'm excited about that because it means it gives us all opportunities to hear different people, to either stay home or travel and network. Every one of them is an opportunity to network. All right, so now I have at least 2 questions, but by the time I'm done with these 2, I don't think it'll be 1:15. So you may want to be thinking about something you want to share or ask. And I'm going to start with Holly. I know that Holly's in Santa Cruz. I got to meet her when I was teaching an NNA class. Holly, I'm so glad you're with us today. Do you have a question? You got to unmute. If you can't do your camera, that's okay, but you do need to unmute so I can hear you. Now, everybody, if this happens to you and you're trying to unmute or you do unmute and I can't hear you, probably the best solution is you got to go out and come back in and then put your hand right back up so that I see you and I'll get right back to you. Holly, third chance. Okay, well, her whole thing came down, so she probably went out and she'll be back. In the meantime, Kim, always a pleasure to see you.
Well, it's always wonderful to see you too, lovely Laura.
Thank you.
I actually don't have a question today. I have a promo code to offer TNT members.
Go ahead.
So, in celebration of me getting my new website up and running for my products, I'm going to offer a promo code to you guys. So I'm figuring, let me put it in the chat here. My website is notaryallies.com, ALLIES, and I feature products that help notaries feel more confident and organized and efficient. And right now I've got a promo. If you purchase $30, I will include a free safekeeping tray. I don't know if you can see this or not, but these are really wonderful. And it's a $12 value. And I take these out on every appointment, and I put their IDs in here, and I say, let me keep your IDs here for safekeeping. And I guarantee you're going to get them back when I pack this up when I leave. I put my notary stamps in here. If they have checks for either cash to close, or if you're setting up direct deposit or thumbprint things or alcohol wipes, it's just a really nice, convenient little tray for people, and it folds really flat. So that's my little promo. If you get 2 intake forms, and Laura was instrumental in helping us design the client intake form for general and specialty notary work. And if you get 2 intake forms, there's another promo code called promo code bundle that's $5 off all the time. And the promo code for TNT for the tray is TNT tray through April 30th. And you pick out your color tray. There's plenty of colors available. Pick out your products, pick out your color tray, and just enter the TNT tray promo code, and you should be good to go.
Fantastic. I use Kim's intake form, and I love it. And it has many times helped me, even though I probably know 90% of them right off the top of my head. Things happen in the conversation. I forget to ask something, and that just keeps me on track. So even the most experienced notaries can really take advantage of that. And thanks for sharing that, Kim. So
Yeah,
appreciate
I
it.
attach them to my invoices too for my own files. So if I have to look at something, go
notes.
back, or if I get called again, it can
Yeah.
trigger other reminders about the appointment. So
Yeah, multi-use. All right, I so
thank you.
appreciate you sharing that with our audience here. Are you going to be sharing that with the MBB audience?
I think so. I think I'll do one for NBB.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Andrea. Ooh,
Hi,
which
Laura. How are
Andrea?
you?
I'm good, but I don't see your face, so I don't know which Andrea this is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right now it's not a good time, but I
That's
had
okay, but
a,
Andrea, what's your last name?
it's Marin.
Okay, and you're in California. You have a
Yes.
question?
Yes. So I just started getting direct business and I really feel like I kind of undersold myself on my first package because I was told by an escrow officer for a seller's package is $250, that's what they would pay out. And I just wanted to know, as notaries, where do we find that information as far as what to charge when we do get direct business for a refi, HELOC, refinance, reverse mortgage, and so on?
Sure. Is it Andrea or Andrea?
It's either or.
It's either or. Okay, so I like saying Andrea. So Andrea, you're not going to find a page, a standard, because those are not regulated fees, first of all. They are determined by geographic area. They are determined by the types of packages and any other conditions that are expected of the notary. And so you may find notaries who charge in a range for certain kinds of packages. And so that's going to be, if anybody wants to share their range in the chat, that's fine, perfectly fine. But you'll find that there's not just one specific place to do it. What I can tell you is the ranges that I work in, and although I'm really not doing loan signing work now, although I just did one last week, my first one in 24, my ranges are the same. And I am in California, but I'm in Central Valley, California. So I don't know where that is compared to you. And so typically for refis or purchases, unless it is a VA, that can be $150 to $200. And if it is a VA where I've got a super huge package, then I'm going to charge a little more. If it is a seller's package, it's more like 125 to 150. If it is a reverse mortgage package, which tends to be like a VA package, that depends on if they broke it up. If they have it all together, then that's like a $200, $250 package. But if sometimes they'll just do the application part in one appointment and then they do the rest of it. So it's like maybe 100 for the first part because it's not one page application, let me tell you. Even though you're not notarizing anything, it takes time to go through that. And then maybe if I'm the same notary to pick it up, another 150 for the second half of it. If I'm not the same notary, then I might charge a little more. So those are just some ideas or ranges that I happen to use. But if other people want to share ranges that they use, that they feel are appropriate for them. And remember, everybody has to choose something that is appropriate for them. And it's going to be a combination of what does it cost me to do business? And it may not cost me as much as others. It also means what's the market like in your geographic area? And the other thing is, what is the market bearing right now? Because if you have a lot of notaries chasing after the same jobs, then the price overall goes down. So maybe I was getting 200, but now I'm lucky to get 150, right? So those are the things you want to think about when you're building your price ranges for packages like that. Does that help you?
Perfect. Yes, it does. And thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys are all so amazing.
Super fantastic. Where'd you go? Jen, you moved around. So I wanted to say, Jen, do you have anything you want to add? Do you have anything different or you do it the same way?
I think that your advice is great, but I'll tell you, when I was a brand new notary and I was doing loan signings with signing companies, I paid attention to the closing disclosures and saw what the order was for the notary. So when I went direct, and I went direct very quickly, I knew what to expect and what I was okay with and what I would challenge. It gave me a really good frame of reference. Because it'll outline what the notary is, what they're planning on paying the notary. When you're working with a signing service, you're not getting anywhere close to that, but that's what they're planning on paying somebody. So when I did go direct, it helped me gauge my pricing based on what I was getting, what it was listed to be paid when I was doing signing services. So, but yes, it is going to be very different depending on your market and, you know, how many notaries are. Everything you said is I found to be true in my area as well.
All right, well, thank you very much for adding to that. And Ellen, I see your hand is up. Hello.
This is about attaching California certificates to documents going out of state. So I've been attaching the certificates because they never have the proper notarial wording. How do I know when I need to attach the certificate?
All right, well, that is a fantastic question. And thank you for being in California because it's the easiest one for me to answer. In California, we are allowed to utilize the wording that is provided in the notarial certificate, even though it does not look like ours. It won't have a notice box, may not have a penalty of perjury, may not have a place to put your name and title. These are all different for other states. So why is it not just, yeah, all the time I can do it? Because the other states allow for notaries to include a title or representative capacity in their certificate. California does not. So if you have a certificate that says Laura Biewer, Vice President of Coach Me Laura, then that would not be acceptable. I would have to replace the certificate instead.
Wait,
or
so
if it said Laura Biewer, Attorney in Fact for Scott Biewer. Those are examples of when I would have to say no can do. I need to have, I need to attach my own. It doesn't mean, Ellen, that we don't have titles in a certificate. It just means the notary can't be the certifier of that title. So the difference would be you're certifying it when it says Laura Biewer, Vice President of ABC. You're not certifying it when it says Laura Biewer, who under oath stated to me she was the vice president of ABC. See, now I certified by giving you an oath that I was that person, that representative capacity. Another example, and then the other thing is whether it's there or not, I can sign with that capacity. I can be described in the document with that capacity. But in California, I, the notary, cannot certify either representative capacity or any other certification, even if it's not representative, meaning maybe it says Laura Biewer, resident of California, right?
Okay.
Well, that's a certification I can't make as a notary.
can I add the California certificates to the documents anyway? Just to be
So
safe?
here's what I'm going to tell you. The answer is you do it at your own risk, because if that state recognizes that you could have used it and you did not, it may get rejected and sent back to you to do again. And that happened to me when I was a new notary. I didn't realize that, and I was just putting on acknowledgments when it wasn't my wording, and I wasn't paying attention to when I could and could not. And it was just easier to add a certificate. But see, that's what happened. And so for me personally, no, that's not an acceptable answer. The acceptable answer is you figure it out, you use the hotline, you do something so that if you can use their certificate, you do, because it will land better in their own state. They recognize their own wording rather than dealing with California wording. And
Yeah,
we
I want
only
to get it
replace
right.
We only replace it when I just can't use it.
Okay.
Now you can make a different decision, Ellen. I'm just giving you what my decision would be and why I think deliberate practice is so important, because it differentiates you from other notaries when you know the difference and you know how to handle that, because your signers or your signers receiving agencies will be appreciating that.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I know the NNA people hotline by name now.
Yeah, well, Yeah, I used to do hotline service. The other thing is, Ellen, I was speaking specifically to the acknowledgement. And I hope that's what you were speaking specifically to as well, because our jurat, we don't have a choice. We
Oh,
must use California.
oh,
So it's different rules for different certificates, because that's how we roll here in California. Can't have one rule. We need to have a different set of rules for each. So if you have a jurat, you may not use another state's certificate. It must be California.
oh, thank you.
But the acknowledgement, we've got some decision making to do.
Okay.
Okay, and for everybody else who's in California.
Whew.
All right, are you good, Ellen?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Holly, hi. Oh, you're back and I see you and everything.
And can you hear me?
Yes.
It's a miracle. I just was fiddling and finally got on, but I'll just cut to the chase. So yesterday I was so excited to get a letter from the Secretary of State. I thought my commission opened it up. My fingerprints did not pass. So I've already gone to live scan today to have them resubmitted. He goes, they're going to reject these two. I guess I've washed too many
They make you
dishes
do it
or
twice.
something. But I'm really hoping that I don't get put back in the queue to have to wait another 6 weeks to be booted out. I am going to call the Secretary of State's office. But in the meantime, I think, okay, here's just more time for me to prep and be ready to hit the
Right.
ground running. So 2 bonehead techie questions. I haven't done this forever and a day. What are the best platforms to get a new notary inspired email address and to purchase a domain for a website? What's everybody using out there?
So it sounds like a chat question.
Oh,
Or
sorry.
maybe, no, that's fine, because you're saying everybody. They can't all unmute at the same time. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna answer
Okay.
you in the chat. So start looking in the chat.
I am.
GoDaddy is common.
Okay.
I've used that one as well for my
Okay.
at your service website. I use Kajabi for my other one.
Okay.
So there you go. You're getting a
Yes.
list, Wix. Yeah.
I
A
so
lot of them
much
out there.
appreciate this. I feel a little overwhelmed by it because I haven't done it for 20
Okay, so I hope
years.
you're writing them down because you'll lose this when the end of the call happens.
Yeah, nope, I'm gonna go ahead and go back and write them all down. So thank
Okay.
you. That's it for me.
That was it? All
That's
right, well,
it.
it's good to see you. I'm glad you're back. Sorry about the fingerprints. That's happened to me before, but usually it only was another couple weeks and they just resubmitted it. If they don't get it the second time, then what they do is they do it manually and they run your social security number.
Yeah, well, I just have to say, just for one little moment of levity in class today, my live scan guy, who's just darling and professional, he goes, a good side hustle for you right now would be crime. Because my
Yeah, they
fingerprints
can't
are
get your
so,
prints.
I just said, no, can't go there. Okay, thank you.
All right, you're
I'll get it.
welcome. Thanks for joining us, Guy. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while, Guy.
No, it has been a time.
A minute.
And the reason I jumped on today is a change in notarial law in Colorado.
The new one with the fees.
Yes, I think they are conflicting themselves in that the notarial legislation says a notary be able to charge between $0 and $15 per notarial act. Then in this new verbiage from Secretary of State and NNA, the speak is to mark 0 for the notary fee if you're working through a third party. So now the Secretary of State is dictating $0 when the legislation says $0 to $15. That to me seems like a conflict. Additionally,
Well, can we address, is it still on fees? I don't want to go too far without answering
Yes.
the first question.
Yes. Yes. So additionally, a notary is allowed to deduct the actual notary fee that they charge from employment taxes. So if the Secretary of State is dictating that we put 0 down for our notary fee, and the notary is audited and the auditor says, well, let me see your journal, and you show that you charged no fee, and you took the deduction because you did complete a notarial act, then I see a big battle coming with the IRS.
Okay, you ready?
If it walks, talks, and quacks like a notary act, it is a notary act.
Absolutely. So
And
let's
ahead.
let's take the first part of this because it also addresses the second. First of all, there were new laws for Colorado for their fees, and it's to provide more transparency for the public, so they know what they're paying for, and to help prevent any price gouging that might have been happening. So what he's talking about is in the journal recording. They're allowed to charge up to $15, like California. They can charge up to $15 per notarial act. But what the state now is saying is that if you're not taking the money directly from the public for that act, the signer, you are getting paid by signing service or an attorney or some other third party, then do not record it there. Just put 0 there in the fee column. Now, that doesn't mean you can't charge $15. It means you're not recording. The $15 didn't come from that signer directly. It came from a third party. So it's not saying you can't charge the 15. You can charge the 15 and write 15 if the money is coming from the signer in front of you. If you're not taking money from the public directly, you're getting it from other people who hire you, a hiring company, then they're saying, okay, put 0. And in your notes, you should be putting third party or title or whoever did pay you. Now, in terms of how does that impact us when we're trying to take that self-employment deduction, half, the 50% that we can deduct, the journal is not your bookkeeping system. The journal is recording per whatever your state law requires you to record. Your bookkeeping system is external to that and should be supporting all the money that you made. And it should be identifying all of the notarial act money that you made, because that's the only place where we can reduce our self-employment taxes through the notarial act money only, not all the other fees that we charge. Even if, which I have been audited, even if the Secretary of State, the IRS said, well, I want to see your journal, there's no problem with saying, here's what I record, because here's what the law says I have to record. The journal's not my bookkeeping system. That's Notary Assist, or that's Notary Gadget, or whatever it is. QuickBooks, whatever. That's where my official record keeping of money is. And that's what I would be sharing with the IRS. And they did not ask to see my journal, even though that conversation came up for me about, well, why are you taking half of the self-employment tax? Show us what you're doing here. Because the agent wasn't familiar with that particular little perk of being a notary. So does that help you understand what's going on there?
Not to the point that I would like, because I still see you get an IRS agent that is not versed, and you get into having to battle and argue, and
it wasn't a big battle.
They want to see this, and
you just have to be prepared, guy. So if you get an IRS audit, you better be prepared with your reports from your bookkeeping system that they're going to want, whatever all the documentation is that they've asked for, depending on if it's a random audit and they're only looking at a small piece, or if it's something bigger, and be prepared with the code in case they don't know what it is. I was prepared with the code for the self-employment tax deal. And then be prepared with the law where it tells you that's how you have to record it when it's third party. When you're prepared like that, you're not going to have a problem.
Okay.
Especially when they see you're claiming more income than what's in your journal, more notarial income than what's in your journal. You're actually declaring much more than what's there, right? Because everything's declared in your bookkeeping system. It's saying 0 for third party stuff. So that's what I would tell you. Because we're not in a position to change it to be worded how we'd like it. Because it's done.
Mhm.
But it is not a conflict. It's just two different ways of recording how money is coming to you from the public versus from hiring parties. It's a little bit overdone, I will tell you. I think
Yeah.
Colorado went a little bit over the hill on that one, but
I-
it is what it is.
And I still say if it's being reported as a signing service fee.
Well,
And
you
the
know, you've
Secretary of
got-
State is saying, don't record any fee for notarial. Then
That's fine,
what?
Guy, use your journal, use your additional information. There's nothing preventing you from saying this was a signing by blah, 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 and I had, this much of it was that, right? Paid by ABC Title. So you could use your additional information for informational purposes for you, but the fee column, you're going to follow what the law tells you to do. So that might be a way to also feel more supported should somebody ask, and the IRS, should they ask to see your journal, they'll see, oh, you have a note here, why that's zero. What's going on here? Oh, there's a note right here. Oh, I see a note right here. And that might need to be your new practice to make you feel more comfortable with that.
Okay.
Okay. I agree, Guy, and that I would not have done it that way.
Well,
But they didn't ask me.
It's very typical when you have a legislature
Yeah.
or an agency of the state government to implement laws when they don't do the work.
I know.
Therefore, they don't know the nuances of what they are doing.
Right.
And the number one reason that I understood from the Secretary of State for implementing this was that they get too many complaints about being overcharged for notarial acts.
Yeah.
To me,
Well,
that is a matter of their job. It's also a lack of training their staff. Because when that complaint comes in, the staff should be asking, now, did you go to the notary? Did the notary travel to you? Did the notary do anything additional for you?
right.
And okay, so this is a notarial act. This other thing that the notary did, driving to see you, that is not a notarial act. The signing of additional documents that don't require notarization is not a notarial act.
Yeah.
And
So,
I think it's
Guy,
outside the Secretary of State's purview.
I'm going to tell you, every state has the same issue that allows for travel fees with the public. Some public not understanding why fees are different when I come to you. Sometimes they're shocked when they say, you're not going to come over to my house for $15? And I'm thinking, what planet do you live on?
No, the one I get is I can go to the bank and get it for free.
But that's okay,
Well,
because that's
yeah,
not my
well,
customer, Guy. That's
well,
not my customer, so I don't care about them.
I
Let them go to the
agree,
bank.
but for them to expect me to do it for less than the bank charges, that's not very bright.
Yeah, it is what it is, and they're doing with what they have right now, and so we need to be creative ourselves in this is just a bookkeeping question for us. That's all. Put the zero and then make your notes. And yeah, I saw Notary Academy made a comment in California. You know what? The NNA also recommends that whenever you do a signing, put zeros in the fee column and make a note in your additional information that it was a signing, the company it was, and you can put the total over there so that you have it somewhere in the journal. But frankly, guys, anybody relying on their journal to be their bookkeeping system is bad news. You need an external bookkeeping system that keeps track of your expenses and your income, all of it, all the pieces. And mine's really complicated, so thank God I have Notary Assist. All right, I'm going to move on. Guy, thanks for bringing that up, because I don't know if anybody else is from Colorado today, but that was a brand new change for them that they're dealing with. All right, Sheila.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And I
Okay,
see
great.
you too.
Okay, kind of didn't know if that worked right. Okay, Laura, so my question to you is, Is estate planning document notarization more lucrative than loan signing documents? And the reason why I'm asking is because I'm been a notary for about a year, and I do online notary. And I purchased loan signing agent training from NNA.
Right.
But it seems like you all have been promoting estate, but it seems like I just did some estate stuff and the attorney
Yeah.
was doing it. So did I make a wrong decision by paying for loan signing agent training? Should I gone to your program instead?
Let's talk about that. I don't think there's wrong answers. First of all, loan signing business is a staple. It's a specialty, and the business right now may not be where we'd like it to be because there was a good sized correction that happened. It's not dead. It's there, and it just takes more work, more time to get it going. Now, with that said, that's not the only specialty out there. And anybody who knows me and Bill knows that we believe in diversification and don't have all your eggs in one specialty. You should have it diversified. And one of those ones that's comparable to loan signings is the trust delivery agent program. And in that case, you are going to be looking at the same range of fees, about 150 to 250, somewhere in there. And it's you're working with attorneys instead of escrow agents. So it's a different kind of customer you have, different client that you have. And it's not tied so much to the economy. As a matter of fact, really not at all. People get sick, people become incapacitated, people die. It's going to happen. I don't care what the interest rate is. So that is a more foundational business to have, because the economy going up and down isn't impacting it like the interest rate does impact our loan signing business. So loan signing business is a little bit cyclical. It goes up, real estate goes up, interest goes down, more purchases, more refis happening, interest rates go up, we start losing that, but we got a lot of people out there trying to do the work. So that's what's impacting that. But then the trust, we don't really have that significant direct impact. There might be a little bit of an impact, but very small. And so people who are doing this work, not instead of, but in addition to loan signing work, are going to be filling their plate more regularly with work. And that's what we want. We want you guys to be working and employed in your own business. So I would not give up loan signings. What I would do is I would add estate planning so that you have two comparable types of income coming in. And I wouldn't stop there. I would look at hospital work, which is a great, go in 1 or 2 documents at a time, although I've done trust bedside as well. But mostly they're 1 or 2 documents at a time. And that is a more lucrative for me. What state are you in?
New York.
New York. So do you have any restrictions on travel fees?
I don't know.
I don't think you do.
I'm sorry?
I said, I don't think you do, but you should check into it, because going to a hospital and providing service there is not the same as driving up to somebody's house and taking care of that business. And so I can end up generating an assignment for 1 or 2 documents that's over $100. And now I'm usually not printing any of that, and it's only a couple documents. So you might want to look at that specialty. Apostille work, which you don't even have to be the notary for that. That also has comparable level. So those are big specialties that allow people to make money in between when you get a loan signing package. And frankly, the pricing for loan signing packages right now aren't as good as they used to be. So even when you get the work, you may not find $200. You may find it's, $125 or $100. So that's what I would tell you. You didn't make a wrong decision. It's just time. If you've been doing this a year, it's time for you to step up your game and add some other specialties.
Okay. And the comment about lawyers handling notarization for estate planning?
Sure. There are lawyers. Okay. So here's the deal. We've got some old school lawyers out there that do it the way they've always done it, and they've got paralegals in their office, and that's who they're using. Although, you know, paralegals get sick, paralegals go on vacation, paralegals let their commission lapse, paralegals leave their agency. That's the first issue. The other issue, and so, you know, being the number 2 notary is a great position to be in because those things happen. The second thing is that these attorneys aren't thinking about how we operate today. And how we operate today is we pay for convenience to save our time. That's why we have DoorDash, right? Bring it to me. That's why we have Amazon. I don't want to go to the store and walk through the aisles and stand in line. Bring it to me. So when I'm approaching an attorney who says, their office says, hey, we've got them in here, we just do it here. Do you do after hours appointments? Do you want to send your person after they worked all day to somebody else's house to do that appointment? What about holidays? What about Saturdays and Sundays? Their offices usually aren't open on weekends, on holidays.
Yeah.
How do you provide the service? How do you make it easy for your clients to do business with you? I'm a way that can be an extension of your team. Primarily, you use your in-house people, but I'm an extension to that. How's that work for you? Where'd you go?
Yeah, that really well. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Helpful. All right. Thanks for asking
Also,
that question, Jennifer.
Sheila, this is Jen. I put a link to Laura's book if you haven't gotten it already. Laura and Bill's book, Beyond Loan Signings. You're at a year of being a notary. She's right. It's time to start branching out. And that book is going to literally walk you through all kinds of different ways you can diversify your commission and bring all different sorts of revenue in. So I would grab it and read it because it's going to be a game changer. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, Jen. I always forget that Bill and I co-authored that. And there's like over 13 different specialties right there. And we give you plenty of information, including the marketing side of it, all of it, what to expect, and start branching out. All right, Patty, you're up. Make sure you're unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Patty, I can.
Okay, great. This is in reference like Fernando's question. As to the notary fees, I know that in California, I'm in California.
Okay.
So when you do your taxes, for California it's not taxable. For the federal it is?
The notary fee is part of your income, and it's income tax at both levels. It's income tax, it's taxed, your whole thing. What we have an exemption on is the notarial fee is for self-employment tax. That's the extra 6.5% or whatever it is that we pay when we go to file our taxes. So that's where we have the exemption. It's not on income tax, it's on the self-employment tax, and it's restricted to only the notarial fee. So if I did $10,000 in notarial fee income, 100% of that is income taxed. But 6.5% of that I can reduce from the self-employment tax because I'm paying both sides of it.
Okay, I thought that the 15 was exempt because it's mandated by the state.
No.
Oh my Lord.
It is taxable income, all of it.
Okay.
For income tax.
I gotta ask my accountant how
Talk to your tax person. They should know that. Actually, what they'll think is it is all taxed. What they might not know is that portion of it, there's like 6.5%. And so what they do for me, I have 2 Schedule Cs. I have a Schedule C that includes all my taxable income, and then I have a Schedule C that's the notarial income. And so that's how we do it.
Okay, I gotta talk to him about that. I've been confused about that. For he's including everything.
Remember, I'm not a tax consultant, so always talk.
I know. But I know you've been doing it long enough, so you had some sort of idea.
Yeah, I do. Uh-oh. Jen, I need help.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Patty.
Thanks a lot.
Talia?
Hello.
Hi, Kalia. What's your question? What state are you in?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania. What's your question?
So I have a couple of questions if you don't mind.
All right, well, let's get the first one at a time.
So I specialize in real estate. So most of the stuff I do is not just loan signings, but like deed packages as well.
Sure.
Um, I guess, okay, so what I've run into a couple of times was there would be a name on the original deed that is that may have been that person's maiden name
Uh-huh.
and got married during
Right.
the process of owning a home and then went to sell it and are now signing and their ID and everything has
Right.
their new name. What do
Right.
you normally have them show to prove the name that's on a deed?
Anything that's allowable in my state. So if they have an ID, they have the current ID, that's the right ID that's acceptable in your state, but the last name is a problem, then name variation and they have their previous ID and old ID, it might be expired, that has their face and it has the other name that you're looking to verify. Then you can make a decision that you accept the ID that was presented. Of course, when you do that, there's more risk involved with that. Another is, do they have some other ID that's acceptable in Pennsylvania that has that name on it? Another one would be, does Pennsylvania allow for credible identifying witnesses? Right? Have you done that? Credible identifying witnesses?
I have not in this case, but I have.
Okay, but you have. So those are the some of the alternate ways. Another way doesn't have to do with us as much as it does with the document drafter. They might have drafted it who took title in the name of this, now known as this. I've seen that where right in the deed, they include the maiden name, but they've tied in the new name. So
Right.
that's how they sign as well. And then I identify off of the new name. That's what goes in the certificate. Or actually for you, I can't do that, but for you, you can. And you would have maiden name, now known as new name. And that's how you tie together the two names. But that's the document drafter's responsibility to figure how they're going to do that, because we're not allowed to draft the documents.
Right.
But that's sometimes the only way I can make it work. If it's like they don't have anything. Then I start saying, okay, well, what can we do with the document that might tie your two names together for me? And then when I ID you, I have the ID in your current name, but we've tied it back to your maiden name.
Right.
That's where we have AKA, previously known as, formerly known as, took title as. Those are the ways I've seen it addressed. So you might want to, since you're doing a lot more than loan signings, you're actually working with people with deeds. Who are the document drafters? If they can find a way to set it up in the document so that you can use the ID presented, that's a great way to handle it.
Got you. Do you ever take their like marriage license?
I don't take a marriage license because there's no face on it.
Right.
It could be anybody's marriage license.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
I personally would require them to have an ID that has photo on it so I can see them. It's the same person. Otherwise, it's too much risk for me. And that's really the bottom line, guys. We can make accommodations. We can try all these fancy things to make it work, but the risk is on us for identification. Single most important thing we do. So you want to be confident that this is the person and that's not going to come back. Maybe you have personal knowledge. Well, personal knowledge is acceptable in Pennsylvania. In California, we're the only ones that can't use that. So if I have personal knowledge that somebody now has this name, but they were that name, and I know them as both names,
Right.
I don't have a problem accepting the ID and the new name and identifying them that way because I know it's them. But I got to take that ID because that's what California requires. You have more freedom. 49 states, you guys have more freedom. If you know them, forget ID. Go to personal knowledge. Okay. Got it?
Yes.
And what's your second?
I just want, so my goal is to be a signing service and to be like a national signing service. What advice or tips or whatever do you have for that?
You know, that is just not something I can help you on. I have never been one. I decided not to be one early on. It was not going to be part of what I wanted to offer. So I don't have any information about that. If anybody in the chat does, great. Please put that in the chat for Kalia. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Fernando.
Hello, Laura. Thank you for taking my call there. Hold on.
You're welcome.
Yes, I have a couple of questions here. You know, my wife called earlier and she was on the call earlier, and my name's Marin as well, and I'm a Spanish speaker, and I'm kind of nervous about doing Spanish signings because I know there's a thin line between translating and directing, right?
Laura, you're on mute.
Lori, you're on mute.
My dogs were going crazy. So I mute myself once in a while. So Fernando, are you married to Andrea? Who is the Marin?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yes,
so
I
you're
am.
in California, and what California says is that you need to have direct communication in a language you both share. So if you're speaking in Spanish and they're speaking in Spanish, you're not translating, you're speaking in Spanish to each other. What the law is trying to say is if you're not bilingual and your signer speaks a different language, you may not serve them, because you would be required at that point to have a third party translating between the three of you, and it would not be direct anymore. But if I do bilingual Spanish and I don't have a translator, I don't have any issue with talking directly to my signer and taking care of that. Now, I won't do loan signings that way. It's beyond my capability. But for when I do the, onesie twosie documents, yeah, I can do that. And I don't see any issue with that because we're speaking the same language at the same time.
Okay, so my question is like, so they already understand the English paperwork, and all I have to do is just direct them to the elements and answer their questions. Is that pretty much
Correct.
my responsibility there?
Your responsibility, if you're doing loan signings, would be point out that, the note, the different things that you need to point out and where they need to sign. And you're going to communicate in their language, even though the document may be in English. Now, if they say, I don't understand what I'm signing, I can't read in English, that's a different problem. It's not your job as the notary to be translating that document for them. That should have happened before they got to you.
Okay, so if we have any questions, then we should be able to reach out to the lender or whoever created the paperwork, and they should be able to communicate it to them, correct?
Sure, that's not a problem. If there's a document they don't understand, then I would reach out to the hiring company and get assistance. They're going to need somebody that speaks their language. They're entitled to understand their documents in their own language.
Okay.
So yeah,
Good.
that's happened to me where I needed more help, so I had to call.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
But I
All right.
want you to know it's perfectly fine to share a language together. It doesn't mean you're translating. You're just having a conversation in the same language.
Wonderful. Okay. And another question. I was thinking about using the electronic journal, and I was wondering about how often should I print out my actions?
That's
my
up to
notarial.
you. That's up to you. Depends on, how fast they build up. I've been there 2 years and I haven't printed any of them. But recently a friend of mine got a letter. They're doing an audit. She has to print 3 months out. And since she hadn't printed any yet, she had to do them all. Although it didn't seem to be like a lot for her. It wasn't that big a deal to do it.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. Well, that's not a big deal. All right. So it's pretty easy to download and
Yeah, actually it is. Don't do it from the phone. Do it from the website.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate everything you have taught us. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And Laura, I love to talk to Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Doing?
Doing good. Laura, tell me your state.
California.
All right, Laura, what's your question?
Hi. So my question is about the apostille work. I had emailed the Secretary of State and asked them about this first, and if there was any special certification required. And they said no. They said specifically, there's no special certification required to notarize documents that will be submitted to this office for an apostille. And then later on, they proceed to talk about notarizing I-9 forms and employment eligibility verification or any other immigration document is not among the duties permitted under California law unless the notary is also an immigration consultant. And this kind of confused me with apostille work. I know that apostille is not exactly employment eligibility verification, but I didn't know if some of those documents were maybe contained in an apostille at all.
Okay, so Laura, a couple things to clarify. One is that in California, particularly the I-9 form is an immigration form, and the eligibility one is an immigration form, and we are not allowed as notaries, even as a private citizen, to handle those. That's just the bottom line. Those are just specific kinds of documents that are immigration related. Apostille isn't about immigration. Apostille is about documents that are going to be submitted out of the country, and they require an authentication by the highest level governing body for whoever's authenticating the signature of the signer. And so I'm authenticating as the notary the signature of the signer. Then that document goes to the Secretary of State and they verify I am a valid notary. I performed a valid notarization using the valid notarial certificate. They put their big red stamp over it, and then it can go and be accepted as is by whatever foreign country that is. And it could be a personal letter. A lot of them are powers of attorney. A lot of them are vital records like birth certificates. Of course, we don't notarize those. Those are going to be the county recorder's signature or county clerk's signature that's being authenticated. So what is a notary doing? The notary may or may not be notarizing anything. It depends on the document. But even if I'm not notarizing anything, the process is then the same. I am facilitating that those documents to go to the Secretary of State with preparing a cover sheet and then getting them back to wherever it is the signer or customer wants them to land, either in the foreign country or back to the customer. That's really the process that I'm involved in. And then if I'm a notary and if the document needs notarization, I could be the notary as well. But I get documents that have been notarized by other notaries, and I take care of the apostille facilitation.
Okay, oh my gosh, thanks so much for explaining that. So when you market it, can you market it as courier services with notarizations for, and then would you like list or?
So I market it as apostille facilitation.
Okay.
I use the word apostille. And all I'm doing is facilitating it. Then when they call me, I say, this is the part I can handle. This is what I can do for you.
Oh, okay. I guess I was confused on what kind of documents were contained in there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That was 100% answered my question.
Okay. Well, let me move on because I think we're down to the last 30 seconds and I see two hands that I haven't taken care of. Gulnar, if you have a direct question, let's see if we can get it in. But you need to unmute.
Okay, yes, I do have two quick questions. One is that I'm going to be starting soon. And so I just want to ask you, do you take credit cards and how does that work?
I do take credit cards, as many notaries do. Some use Square as the platform, some use Stripe, some use other things. In the chat, if you want to put some ideas beyond Stripe or Square, please do so. What's your second question?
Okay, it's just, I talked to a notary in Texas and she said she exclusively works with signing companies because direct work is impossible to get because the companies want to only work with signing companies and not directly with the notaries. Is that true? Is it very hard to get direct work?
Well, I think it's not specific to Texas. I think it can be geographically different. I think part of it is going to be how well you develop relationships into getting direct work. It doesn't work the same way as signing services who you're on these lists and they call you. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of relationship building to develop that line of work directly with an escrow company or a title company. And so I really can't do more than that at the moment because we're at the end of our call. But I don't think it's a true statement that it's impossible.
Okay.
I do know people in Texas who are getting the work.
Hey, thank you so much.
All right. And the last one before we go, do you have a quickie? Fine Tech Executive or FinTech?
FinTech, yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Gisela Baker, and I'm commissioned here in Washington State. And my question is in reference back to the real estate agent about deeds. So I did a power of attorney, and I was on the opposite end for the family. Identified his sister, who is was going into the stage of just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so anyway, then we get down to the sale of the house. So I arranged.
I need you to get right to the question because we're running out of time.
Okay, so the title said that we had to do the power of attorney over again because the original deed was in her, I think she used her middle name or something. It was, all three names were on her ID, but she used for a different name. But one of them were on the ID. So they said we had to do the POA all over again because it had to match the deed.
It does have to match the deed. We don't necessarily use all the parts of names that are on our IDs. If they have not been used on the document, we always follow the document and it must match the deed.
Okay, so so they were correct. So the POA, so I guess I misunderstood what you said. So the POA, when it came down to the sales of the home, when she wanted to sell the home, then the POA that I identified her for her brother to take over, it needed to, all those names needed to be on the original deed of this home that you
If it was on the deed to begin with, if that's how she took title, that's what they're looking for. We have to match those names. Deeds are just unusual documents where we really have to match that name to the deed. And that's why it can be a problem for us when we're trying to figure out how they're going to sign it. And that's why we can't decide it for ourselves. We might have to contact the drafters of the document to verify, how can we get this done and still get this deed recorded.
Okay, appreciate you very much. Appreciate all your work and your contribution.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Guys, we went a little bit over and I so appreciate you hanging out with us. Almost 100 of you waited till the end. Thank you so much. Next Tuesday, 12:15, one more time without Jen, and then we'll be back to normal. Have a great Tuesday. If you're NBB, I hope I see you. Well, you might not see me, but you'll see Bill at the accountability call, 3 to 4. Bye.